Hello everyone. In today's class I'm going to show you how to solve quadratic equations using various formulas. I am a trainer Maurice. So to begin with, we are first of all going to use the quadratic equation. So I can use my lighter, and then we know that the equation, the formula to solve the quadratic equation is maybe x is equals to maybe minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared, then minus 4ac divided by 2a. So from this, in our formula, we know that our a is equals to coefficient of x squared, which is 1, and then our b is equals to the coefficient of b, which is x, which is 2, and also we know that our c is equals to 1, which is our constant. So we can plug this to our formula and have our x is equals to minus 2, then plus or minus the square root of maybe 4, so 4, that is 2 squared, which is b squared, then minus 4 multiplied by also, which is 1 multiplied by also 1, which is the coefficient of c. And then we can try to, this one we divide by 2 multiplied by a. So we multiply this again by a, which is 1. So in this case our x will be equal to negative 2, then plus or minus this one is the square root of 0 divided by 2, and we know that the square root of 0 is 0. So in this case we can say that our x is equals to minus 2 divided by 2 plus or minus maybe the square root of 0 divided by a 0 is equals to 0 divided by a 0 is equals to 0. So in this case we will have our x is equals to negative 1. Our x is equals to negative 1. So you can also, this one maybe we can also say it is a perfect square, so that's why we can have that one being. Alternatively, we can solve the same equation using the completing square method. So we have x squared maybe plus 2x, the same equation, then plus 1 is equals to 0. So to solve using the completing square method, the first thing that we need to do is to take the constant c on the other side. So we shall have our x squared plus 2x is equals to negative 1. So the next thing, we introduce the constant c, so which you're going to have c is equals to b all over 2, then all these we square. So in this case if we introduce the constant, we shall have our x squared plus 2x, then plus 2 divided by 2, then all these we square is equals to negative 1, then plus 2 divided by 2 squared is 1. So in this case we can factorize this equation. So we are going to have x, then plus 2 divided by 2, which is 1, then we square, because this one is a perfect, you just get the square root of x squared, and the constant c is equals to negative 1 divided by 1 is a 0. So 0 added to 1 is a 0. So the next thing, we can get the square root on this side and also the square root on the other side. So we shall remain with our x plus 1, this square and this cancels, is equals to the square root of this is a 0. And then if we take x on the other side, we shall have our x being is equals to negative 1, is equals to negative 1. So that is how we can solve it using the completing square method. The next thing, we can solve the same equation, x squared plus 2x maybe plus 0 plus 1 is equals to 0. Using the factorization method, we consider the coefficient, the product of maybe A, C, and also the sum of B. So in this case, our product is equals to 1 and our sum is equals to 2. So in this case, the two product is 1 and 1. So in this case, we can say that our x maybe plus, we substitute our coefficient of x with these products that we have here is equals to x plus 1 is equals to 0. So in this case, we can look what is common. So x there, so we have remember this is squared, we have x then plus 1, and here we have maybe plus 1, so that we can remain with x maybe plus 1, and all this is equals to 0. So we can take what is outside the bracket and one which is inside the bracket. So we have x plus 1 and then x plus 1, and this one is equals to 0. So in our case, our x plus 1 is equals to 0. You can see all these are common, so the value of x becomes negative 1. That is how you can solve using the factorization method. Later on we can try to solve it using the graphical. So we have the same x squared plus 2x maybe plus 1 is equals to 0. Using the graph, we can use the range maybe for x negative 4 less or equal to x, and x should be less or equal to 4. So we are going to have the table, that is we have the value of x, maybe this one, we can say this one is y, and here we are going to have negative 4, maybe negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, maybe also we have 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. And then from there we can have the value of our x squared here, and then also we can have 2x, and also we can have the value of 1, and there you can have the value of y. So can have this. So our x squared here becomes 16, here becomes 9, here we multiply becomes 4, then we have 1, 0, 1, then we have 4, we have 9, and we have 16. Then we have negative 8 here, we have negative 6 because of 2 multiplied by negative 3, negative 4, and then we also have negative 2, 0, then we have 2, we have 4, we have 6, and we have 8. Then the constant c, remember, is not affected by x, so it is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. And then we can add them. So in our first case, you realize here we have 9, here we have 4, and then here we have maybe 4 minus 4, 0, we have 1, and here we have 1 minus 2, which is negative 1, then negative 1 added to that becomes a 0, and then here we are going to have maybe, for example, at 0 here we are going to have a 1, and then we can have 4, and then we can have a 9, and then we can have maybe a 25. We can have a 25. So that is our graph, and then maybe from here we can plot the same values of x and y. I don't have a space, so I can leave you to plot that and tell me the values. So that brings us to the end of our session. I was your trainer, Maurice Monene. So let me show you how to drive the quadratic equation. So I can take my writer here. So we know that quadratic equation is we have a x squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. So in this case, we start by taking our constant c on the other side of the equal sign. So we shall have a squared plus bx is equals to negative c. And also from here now we can reintroduce our constant c, and we know that our c is given by b all over 2. Then we get the square of it. So, and before we introduce this constant c, the first thing that we need to do is to make the coefficient of x squared to be 1. So meaning that we can divide all through by a, we also divide by a, we also divide by a. So we are going to have, if we introduce this, we are going to have our x squared now plus b all over a x is equals to negative c divided by a. So to introduce the constant c, we know that b all over a is divided by 2 will be b all over 2a. So this becomes x squared then plus b all over a x then plus b all over 2a, then this one squared, and what we have done on this side we do it on the other side, is equals to negative c divided by a, then this one we add to b squared all over 4a squared. So now the next thing that we can do, it is to factor out on this side. So we can factor out on this side, so we shall be left with x plus b all over 2a then squared is equals to, if the LCM on this other side is 4a squared, so if we divide a divided by 4a squared, we leave 4a, then we multiply by c, we get negative 4ac. Then if you divide 4a squared by 4a squared, we get 1 multiplied by b squared, we leave b squared, and then we divide by our LCM, which was 4a squared. The next thing that we can do, we can get the square root on both sides. So this square and this cancels out. So in this case, to separate the two, I will be left with x then plus b all over 2a is equals to, I can rearrange this to be left with the plus or minus the square root of, so I can have b squared coming first, then minus 4ac minus 4ac. Then here, remember, if I get the square root of 4a squared, I will be left with the 2a. And since I'm interested with getting the value of x, I can take b all over 2 on the other side. So I'll have x is equals to minus b all over 2a then plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And since you can see we have to b, the denominator of negative b being 2a, and also for b squared, I can put them under one LCM, so that I have my x is equals to negative b then plus or minus the square root of b squared then minus 4ac divided by 2a, and there we have our quadratic formula. Thank you.